Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and welcome to Doha, Qatar, the host of the FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers and FIBA Basketball World Cup 2027. I'm Josh Bett, and it's my privilege and honor to be assisting with the drawing procedure of Asia's flagship men's national competition. However, before we get set for February 2024, let's sit back and enjoy the most memorable moments from the FIBA Asia Cup 2022 that was hosted between the 12th and the 24th of July in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Well, hello, everybody. We are underway in Jakarta, Indonesia, the FIBA Asia Cup 2022. The most famous win in the Juarez coaching era. Basketball. It might be a three anyway. Abraham! Oh! You are kidding! You cannot believe it! It is stunning! Stunning save in Jakarta! In New Zealand, despite their struggles, have battled back to win it 83-75. They clinched third place at the FIBA Asia Cup. What a sensational swat! That is a huge play. They remain the kings of Asia with a second consecutive title at the FIBA Asia Cup.
What sensational sights and sounds. What an event that was. A truly incredible final between Australia and Lebanon. But now it's time to open up a new chapter as we begin to focus on today's draw, which will officially tip off the road to the FIBA Asia Cup 2025. It's a special occasion for us today, as now we get set to introduce two of the competition's biggest names to help us with the draw. Let's now welcome them onto the stage. First up, from the Philippines, a familiar face, Gilas Pilipinas' very own Gabe Norwood.
Look at Saad, the rejection from Gabe Norwood.
Gabe, welcome. Very happy to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Our next guest is an Asia Cup legend. His name is synonymous within the Asia Cup brand. He's featured in 8 FIBA Asia Cups in 2005, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and most recently at the 2022 FIBA Asia Cup. He's been crowned champion 3 times of the competition and on 4 separate occasions been named the most valuable player. At this point, I'd like to introduce the Big Daddy, Hamed Haddadi.
It back from afar, looks to drive into the paint, hangs it up for Haddadi to take off.
Gentlemen, it is fantastic to both have you here as guests, both big-time legends within the FIBA Asia Cup. But, before we get started with the draw, just a few questions. And I want to go back to 2013, that thriller in Manila. Let's start with you, Hamed. What was it like for you as a player, playing in front of a very passionate Filipino crowd that was cheering against you and Team Iran?
It was a good game, for us, and it was a big game for both teams. We compete every time. They're a strong team. They're always fighting, but we are lucky. We have a good team there. 2013, every games. We have the toughest game against Philippines, and their fans. I think it was 25,000 people. Yeah. And the last moment, fourth quarter, we take the advantage and we won a game. I was very happy that moment, and because we have a tough match with them, and sorry.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Gabe, and also going back to that final, amazing semi-final against Korea, and then going into that final, what was it like personally for you to play in front of your home crowd, and what did it mean to basketball for Gilas Pilipinas?
Yeah, it's nothing like playing in front of your kababayan, in front of your countrymen, and to be there, to understand the history behind, our limited time on the world stage. It had been decades before, so to know that we were there, but also to know we were going against a strong Iran team that always pushed us, challenged us. There was no better matchup there in 2013. Unfortunately, Hamed and his boys took care of business, and we both were able to represent our countries in the World Cup. So, mission accomplished.
Now, gentlemen, 10 years ago, you two both walked into the Mall of Asia Arena, and that was almost battle, that was war. But I'm hoping right now we can be friends and work together
for sure,
as we see which teams will play who on the road to the FIBA Asia Cup 2025. So can we do this as a team?
We can make it happen.
Thank you so much. Well, I'd like to now let you go to your spots as we will commence. We're almost ready for the draw, but of course, we need an explanation of the technical procedures. And for that, I would like to invite FIBA Regional Office, Asia's Sport and Competition Manager, Mr. Rafi Kasabian.
Thank you very much, Josh, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In just a few moments, we will form the 6 groups that the region's 24 teams will compete in and find out the matchups that will make our hearts race and the stories that will be written on the road to FIBA Asia Cup 2025. We're ready for the draw, but first, let's go over FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers, competition system, and draw procedure.
The FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers. Teams will be made up of 16 teams that participated in the FIBA Asia Cup 2022 and the 8 teams from the pre-qualifying tournaments, making up a total of 24 teams. Each team plays the other 3 teams in a home and away basis over 3 windows with 2 games per window. The top 2 teams from each group of the 6 groups will qualify directly to the FIBA Asia Cup 2025, making a total of 12 teams. The 6 third-place teams from each group will qualify to play in a final qualifying tournament, and the top 4 teams from this tournament will qualify for the 2025 FIBA Asia Cup. The 24 teams
So now that we know how it all works, let's take a look at the teams in part one. This part features 6 of the top seeded teams. Defending champions, Australia. Bronze medalists, New Zealand. And Asia's Paris 2024 representative, Japan. Rafi, over to you.
Thank you, Josh. We are all set, and I would like to first ask Hamid to shuffle the balls and pick the first team. So the first team of pot 1 is
Japan.
Japan will go to group
C.
Japan will go to group C with the competition number
3.
So Japan will be in group C, competition number 3. The second team in pot 1 is
Australia.
Australia will go to group
A.
Australia will be in group A with competition number
2.
So Australia will be in group A, competition number 2. The last team in pot 1 is
New Zealand.
New Zealand will be in group
Wait for me. B.
So New Zealand will be in group B with competition number
Right here. 4.
New Zealand in group B with competition number 4.
We now have part 1 teams in their groups. Now, let's take a look at which teams are in part 2. So 3 more teams are set to discover their fate, including record 16-time Asia Cup champs China, Gilas Filipinas, and Korea.
We move to pot 2. Please, Hamid.
Philippines.
Philippines will go to group
B.
Philippines will be in group B with competition number
3.
The second team in pot 2 is
Korea.
Korea will go to group So
A.
Korea will be in Group A with competition number
3.
Korea will be in Group A, competition number 3. And the last team in pot 2 is
China.
China will be in Group
C.
in Group C with competition number
1.
So China will be in Group C with competition number 1.
Already some very interesting matchups we can see. China and Japan did meet in the previous FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. Rafi, I like how things are shaking up. Let's now move on to pot 3. Three more teams will be discovering who they will be playing at the FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers. This pot includes the FIBA Asia Cup 2022 hosts and FIBA Basketbol World Cup 2023 co-hosts in Indonesia, along with Guam and Chinese Taipei. Rafi, over to you and Ahmed.
Yes, we move to pot 3. And the first team in pot 3
Indonesia.
Indonesia will go to Group
A.
Group A with competition number
4.
So Indonesia will be in Group A with competition number 4. The second team in pot 3 is
Chinese Taipei.
Chinese Taipei will be in Group
B.
in Group B.
One.
With competition number 1. So Chinese Taipei will be in Group B with competition number 1. And the last team in pot 3
Guam.
is Guam will go to Group
C.
Group C with competition number
2.
So Guam will be in Group C with competition number 2.
Groups are now becoming almost full, competitive as they appear. We're almost halfway there. Rafi, let's move on to pot 4. These three teams qualified via the pre-qualifiers, and they are Thailand, Mongolia, and Hong Kong, China. Gentlemen, back to you.
Yes, Hamed, please. The first team in pot 4 is
Thailand.
Thailand will be in Group
A.
Thailand will be in Group A with competition number
1.
So Thailand will be in Group A with competition number 1. The second team in pot 4 is
Mongolia.
Mongolia will go to Group
C.
Group C with competition number
4.
So Mongolia will be in Group C with competition number 4. And the last team in pot 4 is
Hong Kong, China.
Hong Kong, China will be in Group
B.
Group B with competition number
2.
So Hong Kong, China will be in Group B with competition number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, the draw for the first 3 groups is now completed.
Rafi, some very interesting matchups in those first 3 groups. And as we already saw, Indonesia will not only will they be playing in a Southeast Asian derby against Thailand, but Thailand will also be going up against Korea for a second time. It's going to be very exciting to see Mongolia as they make their debut. The fans are definitely going to be looking forward to these matches. Well, now it's time to continue with the draw proceedings. As the video suggested, pots 5, 6, and 7, and 8 will feed groups D, E, and F. Let's now have a look at the teams in pot 5. Well, having a look at that video, and of course, looking at pot 5, 3 words come to mind. West Asian powerhouse, Iran, Jordan, and of course, Lebanon.
Okay, Josh, we move to the pot 5. The first team in pot 5 is
Lebanon.
Lebanon will go to Group
F.
Lebanon will be in Group F with competition number
3.
So Lebanon will be in Group F with competition number 3. Second team in pot 5 is
Jordan.
Jordan will be in Group
D.
Jordan will be in Group D with competition number
2.
So Jordan will be in Group D with competition number 2. And the last team in pot 5 is
Iran.
Iran will go to Group
E.
Group E with competition number.
One.
Competition number 1. So Iran will be in Group E, competition number 1.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move on and check out the teams in Pot 6. Includes 2 teams from the Gulf, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, as well as a Central Asian representative in Kazakhstan.
We move to Pot 6. Please, Hamed, the first team in Pot 6 is?
Bahrain.
Bahrain will be in Group
F.
Bahrain will be in Group F with competition number.
One.
So Bahrain in Group F with competition number 1. The second team in Pot 6 is?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia will be in Group
D.
Group D with competition number.
Four.
So Saudi Arabia will be in Group D with competition number 4. And the last team in Pot 6 is?
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan will go to Group
E.
Group E with competition number.
Two.
So Kazakhstan will be in Group E with competition number 2.
Well, the 3-time champions of the FIBA Asia Cup, Iran, finding out their opponents. Let's find out who else they'll play as we move on to Pot 7.
We move to Pot 7, and the first team in Pot 7 is?
Syria.
Syria will be in Group
F.
Syria will be in Group F with competition number.
Two.
2. So Syria in Group F with competition number 2. The second team in Pot 7 is?
Iraq.
Iraq will be in Group
D.
Group D with competition number.
One.
So Iraq will be in Group D with competition number 1. And the last team in Pot 7 is?
India.
India will be in Group
E.
Group E with competition number.
3.
So India will be in Group E with competition number 3.
Already the groups spicing up and becoming very competitive, but Rafi, let's now move on to look at pot 8.
So the last pot, pot 8, we start with the first team.
Palestine.
Palestine will be in Group
D.
Group D with competition number
3.
So Palestine will be in Group D with competition number 3. The second team in pot 8 is
UAE.
UAE will be in Group
F.
Group F with competition number
4.
So United Arab Emirates in Group F with competition number 4.
Qatar.
Qatar will be in Group
E.
Group E with competition number
4.
So Qatar will be in Group E with competition number 4.
Well, gentlemen, the groups have been assigned, the draw has been done, but Hamid, I have to ask you, going back to the time when you played in the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, how do you feel about Iran and the new generation?
They're young, you know, we gotta be patient. Iranian people, like Iranian president, they gotta be patient because they're young, they got talents, but they need the time. The World Cup we played, it was a good experience for them, and let's see in future what happens.
Again, looking at the group here for Gilas Pilipinas, going up against the likes of New Zealand, Hong Kong, China, and Chinese Taipei, I mean, apart from this group, what other matchups would you be looking forward to?
Outside of our group? Man, all the way across the board, there's talent in every pod, every group, but you know, always looking over on this side, like you were saying with Iran and their change of guard, it's going to be interesting on that side, but I love to watch the Korea-Australia matchup, and Thailand and Indonesia are tough in that group as well.
You know, a question for you both. You know, Mongolia, having qualified through the pre-qualifiers and new to this system, you know, what is it like for a new team, of course, stepping into the big time?
I mean, it's got to be an awesome experience to know that you're a part of history, representing your country, and hopefully making strides forward to continue to push the game in Mongolia. So I'm sure the entire tournament's excited to have them, and hopefully they continue to compete at a high level.
They're good in 3-3, 3-3 for sure. You know, like they make some noise in 3-3, but I'm so happy we see them in 5-on-5, and for sure they're making some noise or in Asia games, for sure.
And of course, Australia winning back-to-back FIBA Asia Cups. It's going to be a very tough road for them going up against Korea, but you know, looking at some of the other teams, big progression with Japan as well. Definitely looking like one of the more exciting teams here in the FIBA Asia Cup. But ladies and gentlemen, there are your 24 teams. That wraps it up here for the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. A lot of excitement throughout, and I'm sure the fans will be sharing the groups and sharing some anticipated matchups on social media. Let's take a look at the FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers draw results in alphabetical order.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we completed the draw ceremony of FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers. And these are the results. Group A, Thailand, Australia, Korea, Indonesia. Group B, Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, China, Philippines, New Zealand. Group C, China, Guam, Japan, Mongolia. Group D, Iraq, Jordan, Palestine, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Group E, Iran, Kazakhstan, India, and Qatar. And Group F, Bahrain, Syria, Lebanon, and United Arab Emirates. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the lineup. We thank you for joining us. I'd like to say a big thank you to our guests, Hamid Haddadi and Gabe Norwood, for their skillful handling of the draw procedure. And also a big thank you to Rafi Kasabian. Thank you and goodbye.